In Job chapter 41, God describes a creature. He breathes fire. His scales cannot be pierced by any sword. No spear, no arrow. Nothing on earth is his equal. God calls him Leviathan. For centuries, theologians assumed this was simply a large sea creature, a whale, a crocodile, something natural. But then, God says something that should stop you completely. He looks at Leviathan and asks, "Can you put a hook through his jaw? Can you make him your servant?" No one is fierce enough to rouse him. Who then is able to stand against me? God is not describing an animal. He is describing the most terrifying thing in creation to make a point about himself. But here is where everything shifts. Isaiah chapter 27. The prophet looks forward to the end of days and says, "In that day, the Lord will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea." The fleeing serpent, the twisting serpent, the dragon. In Revelation chapter 12, Satan is called the great dragon, the ancient serpent. The same language, the same being. Leviathan is not a sea creature. He is a portrait of the most ancient enemy of God. And Isaiah 27 is not a prophecy about an animal. It is a verdict. The dragon will be slain, not wounded, not contained, slain. And God described it as casually as a fisherman pulling in a catch.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, giving our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Wadash. Double honors due to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace, blessings, and safety to the Lord's elect out there. All right, this is the brother Yeshaya. And I stumbled upon this clip or this short earlier, and the spirit jumped on me. I was looking for a topic, and here it is. So, just to unpack a couple of things, I want to make this as condensed as possible. So just to unpack a couple of things, there with the Lord, with the Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, there can be two things true at once. All right. So Leviathan does represent, an actual animal. Okay. There is a sort of animal in the scriptures, okay, known as Leviathan, and Job 41 was describing that beast. Okay, there's a large, prehistoric animal, okay, that's been around since the beginning of creation, the flood. Okay, and they rule the seas. And the scriptures say that Leviathan will bite them. Okay, and that's talking about their naval capacities, or their naval men that's in the seas. Okay, Leviathan's, he's gonna, fuck them up. I mean, he's gonna mess them up as well. So the Lord has basically all bases covered. Okay, you can't go to the depths of the sea. You can't go to the heights of heaven to escape this judgment. Okay, so yeah, Leviathan he sits at he controls the seas. But there's also a Leviathan, okay, known as that crooked serpent. Okay, which is representative of Esau, Edom as a nation. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and hit Genesis 3. All right, and show you the difference. Okay, now this is Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord Yahweh power had made, and he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So look, let's see what this word serpent means. Okay, all right, it goes to Nahash. Okay, that word is Nahash. All right, serpent, snake, image of the serpent. But look, when you go into let's see, when you go into the root word Nahash, all right, to practice divination, divine, observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe, practice fortune telling, take as an omen, to practice divination. So that serpent, okay, that was in the garden was basically a high level magician, or sorcerer. Okay, so he was an actual man, and he actually represented a nation of people. Okay, so there you go, right there. That snake in the garden was not no literal serpent, or that apple was not that fruit was not an apple. It doesn't say what, it doesn't specify what salt, what fruit it was. Okay, but yeah, so that apple, okay, represented, doctrines, philosophies that were reserved for the other nations, that us being a separate people, we shouldn't even, try to touch, okay, or to divulge in, okay. And that's what started the actual fall, okay. Indulging in other philosophies of the other nations, which the Lord was telling us time after time after time again not to deal with these other nations and serve their gods. All right. So just repeating the same cycle over and over. So right there, that word, that Hebrew word is nachash, and that serpent in the garden was basically a magician, okay, or a sorcerer, okay. So, bam. Now let's go to the other point, okay, because I said two things can be true at one time. All right, this Job 41 is actually talking about an animal, okay, but let's just go into it. Job 41. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put a hook into his nose and bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee, and will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maiden? So the Lord is basically using the actual example of how the fierceness and how the overall dominance of Leviathan cannot, be overtaken or be played with, because that's the Most High's pet. That's Yahweh's pet. Okay, he made Leviathan for a reason. Okay, and Leviathan cannot be, caught. It says that his armor, cannot be pierced, and we really believe that, because you got certain animals with that type of power now. You got armadillos. You got certain animals. You got even, look at the honey badger. His skin is so tough, it's like leather, so nothing can really pierce it, and that's skin. What about scales, man? So yes, Leviathan is a real creature. He does exist in the depths of the oceans, and like I said, let's see if I can find it. He will use Leviathan. Okay. Damn. Where is it at? He said, and Leviathan will now let me see if I can find it over here. It says Leviathan will devour in the seas or something like that. But I know for sure it's talking about it says that type of verbiage. Let's see. All right. Man, if any brothers listening and can find that scripture, it's probably in the Apocrypha. Okay. Let me see. It's probably in the Apocrypha, but probably around second Ezra 6 or something. Yep. Hey, that's crazy. It just came up. All right, second Ezra 6 and uh well, that's another part. All right. But anyway, yeah. So I might find it later, but and might add it to the end of this video. But yeah, it says Leviathan will basically the animals. Yeah, it's probably in Revelation. We'll see. But this right here is actually talking about a literal animal. Okay, and you have to have faith in the Lord to know this, man. And yeah, He has newly created creatures. Like, they are discovering a different species every day. So why wouldn't the Lord have, an animal to Himself? Like, come on, man, that doesn't make sense. So, like I said, I want to make this concise as possible. Let's go to Psalm 74 and 14. And it reads, Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, and gave him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. Thou didst cleave the fountain and the flood. Thou driest up mighty waters. The day is thine, the night also is thine. Thou hast prepared the light and the son. Now this is talking about inevitably the fall of Esau Edom. Okay, because Esau Edom is also that piercing serpent or a Leviathan. Okay, so you got Leviathan, the sea creature or the animal. Okay, and you also have Leviathan, known as a code name for a nation of people, which represents Esau Edom. Okay, so that didn't do too much right here. Let's go to another Psalms. Okay, which Psalms basically is very spiritual and prophetic. All right, because David was a king and a prophet. Psalms 104 and 20. Let's start at 25. So this is great and wide sea. So is this great and wide sea wherein are things creeping innumerable, both small and great beasts. So the Lord created that ocean. That's another world, man. That's a whole nother world within itself, man. Okay. These two worlds on our planet Earth is the dry land and it's the seas. There go verse 26. There go the ships. There is that Leviathan whom thou hast made to play therein. Okay, so this is Leviathan, the sea animal. These wait all upon thee, that thou mayest give him their meat in due season, that thou givest them, they gather, that thou openest thine hand, they are filled with good. Okay, so he even looks after and take care of the animals of the sea. Okay, Leviathan, he takes care of the birds. He takes care of, he makes sure everything is taken care of, right? So just so now let's go to the one that he mentioned, Isaiah 27 and 1. In that day, the Lord Yahweh with his sword and great strong sword shall punish Leviathan the piercing serpent, even Leviathan that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Now this dragon right here that's in the sea, okay, that's talking about Esau Edom. Okay, this is talking about Esau Edom, and the sea represents people. Okay, the seas represent people. Let me see if I can find that. All right, let's see. All right, the seas represent people. Okay. Yeah, so we can go to Revelation 17 and prove that. Okay, Revelation 17 and 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So that right there shows you that the waters, okay, or the seas, they represent nations of people. Okay, so and that's what Esau, Edom, okay, especially the top banking family, they sit in the midst of people, basically saying that they run or they rule the people. Okay, they're in a rulership state. Okay, so I don't have to go far in that because it goes into something else. But yeah, this is basically talking about Esau, Edom being punished as a people. Okay, and this is gonna bring it home right here in the Apocrypha. Okay, you got to utilize the Apocrypha in your teachings, all right, because the Apocrypha holds the key to a lot of missing, a lot of ubiquitous writings. All right, the Apocrypha clears that up. This is 2 Esdras 6 and 49. Then didst thou order two living creatures, the one thou callest Enoch and the other Leviathan. So that represents Enoch, represents us. Okay, one of our forefathers that was in good standing with the Lord and was in basically had a part in handing down the righteous covenant or living out the righteous ways. And the Lord dealt with Enoch. He actually translated Enoch. All right, so that represents us. That represents especially the elect, but that represents Israelites. And the other Leviathan, all right, and that's talking about who? Esau, Edom, all right, as a nation. 50, and did it separate the one from the other for the seventh part, namely where the water was gathered not, might not hold them both. Unto Enoch thou givest one part, which was dried up the third day, that he shall dwell in the same part wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely the moist, and hast kept him to be devoured, of whom thou wilt and when. Upon the sixth day thou givest commandment unto the earth, that therefore it shall bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things. And after these also, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. So there you go. All right, so this is talking about Leviathan, okay, Esau, Edom, the other nations, but namely Esau, Edom, and Enoch, which is us. All right, that's representative of us. Okay, now to go to another one. It doesn't say it specifically, but I like this, to bring the point home. Ezekiel 28. Verse 3, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. Now, this is talking about Esau, Edom. Matter of fact, I got to start at the top to get the whole concept. I mean, the whole, context. Ezekiel 28:1, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So who would represent the prince of Titus? So you might ask, who is the prince of Titus? Okay, prince of Titus is Esau Edom, because he controls, the main waterways, all right, for exporting, importing, and everything like that. Okay, and the Strait of Hormuz is, but they've been eating off that as well. Okay, but they, for the most part, and that's why the scriptures say that the nations are far off. They're gonna mourn. Okay, because they know that once Babylon is done, that's it for that gravy train. That's it for that money that they've been getting rich off of. Babylon the Great for all these years, man. All right, son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a power. I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. And all right, I keep getting phone calls, but okay, so yeah, we can go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. All right. And goes down to Isaiah 14 and verse 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to the hell, to the sides of the pit. So that shows you right there. Okay. Right? That's just talking about the same man. Okay. Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man, and not God. Though thou set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they cannot hide from thee. So that's talking about Esau and his left hand wisdom, pseudoscience, and all that bullshit. With thy wisdom and with thy understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. So with their witchcraft and their left hand dealings, they've acquired riches, man. Okay, riches through deceit, like the scriptures said. All right, with thy wisdom and with thy verse 5, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic, thou has thou increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So yes, they control the seas, the ports for most part, taxing whoever go in and go out. So that this is talking about that man, Esau Edom, man. All right. So you can read more of this if you want to, but I'm gonna end it with this one, and this should really bring the point home. Revelation 12 and 9, and it reads, and that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So this is talking about Esau Edom at the end. Okay, they are the devil, they are Satan, they are on the left hand side, like Second Thessalonians. All right, whose coming is after the workings of Satan. All right, Second Thessalonians 2 and I'm gonna start at 4. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is the power. So that fully capsulates the Ezekiel the 28th chapter as well. Okay, in Isaiah 14. And now you know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he now will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him, all right, him, whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Okay, so this is that man right here, Revelation 12 and 9. Okay. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So at the end, they're going to lose. They're going to fail. They're going to be cast to the earth. Okay, and people are going to be, was this the man that, did shake many kingdoms? All right, it's going to be the Wizard of Oz moment, the ultimate Wizard of Oz moment. Okay, when he gets shown to be the little pipsqueak that he is, to go into slavery for 1,000 years. All right, under Yahweh Shai and the 144,000, King David and the rest. All right. So Lord willing, that was edifying. And with that, I want to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and safety to the Lord's elect. Shalom.